Okay, so here is another little episode of How We Learn, and this time I'm just going to be talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is a model of human motivation. It was developed by a guy called Abraham Maslow, and sort of published around 1954 in a book called Motivation and Personality. Maslow had been doing his PhD about 20 years before on monkeys, and really a lot of this work that goes into the hierarchy of needs is based on primate behavior, but then he kind of modeled it on human behavior following that. And really it identifies tiers of need, and that those tiers need to be met in order to move on to the next tier. We'll explain that in the minute. Um, and the top of the hierarchy is an area called self-actualization. And this is really what we're all aiming for when we're doing the things that we do in our lives. Okay, so here is the hierarchy. The simple hierarchy that Maslow actually published in his book has 5 tiers, and I'll just quickly talk you through all 5. There are 5 levels, as I say: biological, safety, belonging, esteem, and then what we're aiming for, which is self-actualization. The first 4 are sometimes called deficiency motivators, so they motivate us when they're not there. We'll talk about that in a minute. And the 5th level is the growth motivator, and that is something that we're striving to achieve, so trying to be the best that we can be. Okay, so if we look at the bottom of the pyramid, the first hierarchy, the first tier in the hierarchy is the biological. And that's basically things that keep us alive in its simplest sense. But in our environment, you could think about it as simple things like, is the room temperature correct? You know, is it hot? Is it cold? Am I hungry? Did I have breakfast this morning? Am I thirsty? Have I had a cup of tea yet? Have I got access to food or drink? Did I sleep last night? Am I tired now? Did I have too much to drink? Whatever. So all these things basically are kind of physiological or biological factors which have to be met in order to kind of proceed to the next level. Okay, and then the next level in our environment is safety. So safety is kind of concerned with security. So what we mean by security is, okay, security like you might think, like, is the building secure? You know, were we robbed last night? But more importantly, there are some countries in the world where law and order isn't take it for granted. You know, we might have a civil war going on around us, so we can't, sell things, or we might have customers or clients who work in overseas, in those sorts of environments. So it's worth just being aware that security is important. Order and laws really mean the order within the organization. So, there are rules, what you can wear and how much holiday you can take, and everyone has to kind of be fair and stick to the rules, and that is keeps us secure and safe. Protection is really protection like I'm protected from being bullied, or I'm protected from the rain if the roof's blown off, which I suppose is a bit of a biological one, but it's also kind of protecting the environment. So that would be kind of security: the burglar alarm, the fire alarm goes off, and we do drills and things like that. And all these things give us stability, so that we feel secure and safe in the environment that we're in. So the next tier up is belongingless, and everyone wants to feel like they're in a group because we're kind of social animals. So we want to feel that we are in a community. So in a work environment, obviously, it's ideal if we can feel that we're in some sort of community. It would be even better if we had some friends in that community. So forming friendships and bonds within any kind of group is important. Family is not really something, some of us maybe work with each other when we're in families as well, thinking about it, but family is kind of deeper, I suppose, again, than friends. But really what we're talking about is connections, so connections amongst us as a group, but also you can think of that as a wider sort of connection. So we have connections, social media kind of connections like LinkedIn, things like that. And we also have connections to our suppliers and connections to our clients. So, we're kind of constantly forming social bonds with people. So, it's important to think about that we're achieving those ends so that we can move on again to the next level, which is esteem. So esteem is kind of the sociological nods. So our status, maybe what our job description is, where we are in the team that we are in, what our team does, our reputation within the company. So we might be well known for doing a particular thing well, and so that gives us a good beneficial reputation. Hopefully, don't have negative reputations. In our environment, particularly esteem in sales is kind of associated with reward and achievement. So that means, did I hit my goals? Have I been publicly recognized? Did I get a bonus last year? That sort of thing. And also in esteem, there is a responsibility. So we have responsibility to the company, responsibility to the people around us, and we might be in a position of responsibility. So we might be the manager of someone or have responsibility for the development of someone else in the team. So all of these things give us a sense of self-worth and self-value. They validate us. And when we're feeling validated and we've hit all these other tiers of what might be called the deficiency motivators, so things that if they're not there, we go looking for them, leads us finally to self-actualization, which is kind of where we want to be. And that is a place where we can develop and grow, so where we can learn new things, where we can feel a sense of fulfillment. So, I'm good at my job and I'm, glad to be here and this is really working out for me. And so, in essence, it really is the work that we do. So, what are we doing here? What are we trying to achieve? How can we be better at our goal, whether that may be working in finance or selling things or supporting people that sell things, or even, cleaning the floors or all the other important things that need to be done so that these tiers can be ticked off. A sense of self-actualization really comes from doing the work that we really are there to do in the first place. And we can see that we can't really do that work unless we get to this area. So it's important sometimes to think when we're struggling, is it because we're struggling because of a learning deficiency or fulfillment deficiency, or is it actually that we have needs in other areas that haven't been met? And in fact, that's one of the things that Maslow kind of said in his later work is that, if we get stuck on a level, so say we're up at self-actualization and everything's cool, but suddenly the roof blows off in a high wind and, loads of rain starts pouring down and we're cold and, our biological needs have not been met, then even though we might carry on trying to sell things to our customers, in the back of our mind, we're thinking, Jesus, what's going on here? I really got to go back and address this. So it causes a kind of subconscious angst if a tier below where we think we are is deficient, then it nags away at us in our subconscious. So we might all remember times where, we tried to soldier on working when someone's given us a negative comment and we don't feel like we belong, or one of our friendships has been affected, or relationships has been affected, and it's kind of bugging us in the back of our minds. And similarly, if we're thinking about our reputation, or someone slighted our reputation, or we're worried about whether we're going to hit our bonus, that can be stressing us out and stopping us from operating up here at self-actualization. So it's not quite as simple as a 5 tier system. It actually all works synchronously, but it's worth thinking about. If you're interested, Maslow's ideas were developed by other people like Lowry and other people later on into the sort of 70s, 80s, and 90s. And in fact, people added all kinds of things to his hierarchy of needs and made them an eightfold hierarchy, added in cognitive needs. Aesthetic needs, which is kind of cognitive needs, is like wanting to learn and get better and knowledgeable. Aesthetic needs is sort of wanting to have nice house plants around your desk and nice works of art on the wall. Transcendence is an interesting one. So it's kind of when you move beyond self-actualization, you start thinking about the actualization of the group. So it's not like transcendence, like you start floating down the stairs, but it's more the how you help other people to achieve self-actualization, like videos like this maybe. So yeah, so that's transcendence. But actually none of these three things that have been sort of added on to the hierarchy of needs were actually Maslow's ideas. They were other people who agreed with his ideas but kind of wanted to expand on them a little bit. So really, we just want to have a think about those 5 tiers, and next time you might get a bit stuck, and you might think, why is that happening? Maybe it's because one of your lower order needs is stopping you from hitting self-actualization. Okay, I hope that was useful.